Hey Switchers, how's it going? Kanan here, and I do apologise if I sound a little bit nasally. I have really bad hay fever. But anyway, welcome to my review of Sunblaze. Just sounds cool, doesn't it? But before we get started, why not hit that like and subscribe button if you want to be kept up to date on all my content. And also feel free to hit that link down below and come and join us in our community Discord. We're just a bunch of like-minded people that like to play games together and, you know, also chat about our favourite things. And so let's see if Sunblaze will make it up onto the Wall of Fame or the Wall of Shame, or somewhere in the middle. Gameplay. And so Sunblaze is kind of like a platformer puzzle-like game with loads and loads of different elements. There's even a Zen mode to this game that's kind of like there just because, well, why not? And you can even test your might at speed running the game as well, which is kind of like a neat thing, and I think that might actually interest quite a few different people. Essentially, the game is split up into 6 chapters. Each of the chapters more or less have about 50 levels to them, so there's plenty here, and you get kind of like a good bang for your buck. And once in the game, you got all your basics like jump, moving around and all that lot, but you also get like a dash button as well that catapults you forward. And trust me, it's not just a gimmick, you'll be using it loads in the game. The controls are very intuitive and they're really sort of like tightly put together. It was quite rare that I died and thought, well, that shouldn't have happened. It was more or less my fault all the time that I actually, you know, lost a life. Talking about lives, it actually counts how many lives you're actually going through each actual stage. And I mean, man, that is quite shocking sometimes when you see that you've gone past like 300 lives and you're barely like through the actual stage or chapter itself. There's also a nice little story to be had here as well. You're kind of like a daughter of a superhero and you get trapped in this like danger room facility, and you know it's up to your dad to try and get you out, but eventually he disappears and you're left on your own to survive and, well, hope that help is on its way. And this is told by narrative and, you know, some graphics here and there as you actually go through the game. And yeah, I think it worked really well. And, you know, where it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, it did engage and, you know, feel right for this game. I will say here that I am going to tip my hat to the actual developers who has actually made this game so accessible to so many different people you would not believe. There's even accessibility options if you get stuck in the game, so instead of just making you linger there and put you off and put it down and go away, there's options like invincibility, you know, infinite jumps, which is very useful in some levels, and things like that. Basically, you know, when you're actually really stuck, you can just turn one on or turn them all on, get past the stage and carry on. I will say though, if you do actually turn them on, you get a little tick next to that little level, and basically it's just your reference so that you know that you haven't completed it and maybe go back at some other point or when you've completed the game to actually get past that part. And trust me, I've used it and it works really well. And all you hardcore players, they have not forgot you either. Do not worry about that. You collect these data cubes, and if you collect enough of them, you unlock these like hardcore modes. And yeah, they're just what you think they are, really hardcore. So there's you lot covered, as well as the newbies, which from what I've seen on other games is quite rare. They've actually thought about everyone and including everyone. And trust me, I think even more the hardcore people may turn one of those settings I mentioned before on, as this is actually quite a difficult game. As you progress, like there's more and more features. They add like robots into the fray. There's lasers, there's things that you jump on, they like just fall to the ground. There's things that like can squish you, and there's just all sorts of like different mechanics used and different type of obstacles that, like, well, just basically kill you. And I'm happy to really say that it works so well. About halfway through this sort of game, I normally feel like I'm sort of like dredging through it. It's a bit of a chore, but this game wasn't. It just took that away with like its whole mechanics and the way you can just, I can't get through that, so I'm going to use this and I'll come back to it, I promise. Graphically, I like the way it looks. It's kind of like minimalistic, but it's not. Some of the environmental traps are really cool and quite well made, and I will say here and now the way they transition between each actual level is just so good. I love that whole sort of like fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out type way that it has about itself. It feels like you're just continuously going through the levels, not sort of like one level at a time. It makes it feel like one big chapter instead of like just a load of different levels within a chapter. And I do love the death scenes as well. They're pretty neat, and trust me, you'll be seeing it a lot. But I like the fact that there's different ones kind of for like different objects that kill you. Sound wise, I'd say this is probably the weakest part of the game. I wouldn't say that it's like really bad. I quite enjoy it. The music's okay, settling, and yeah, the actual sounds, I do like these, again, sound of when she actually dies. That's pretty cool. The good plays really well, has loads of different features, has some nice little touches of modes, and yeah, it's fun to play. The bad, I think anything I really put down here under bad would be pure nitpicking, would be, you know, literally not really worth mentioning, so I'm not. The score. Okay, so straight away I'm just going to give this a, and I think you've guessed that I've liked this game, 5 out of 5. It is really enjoyable, it's fun, and most of all, because of what they've done in the game, they've made it accessible to, well, basically anyone that wants to play it. And my alternative, well, it could only be Super Meat Boy. A game of the same type of ilk, but a little less, you know, accommodating, one might say. I think most hardcore platformers probably know this one, and if you've not tried it and you've enjoyed your time with Blaze, then you should definitely go and pick it up, because yeah, I really think you'd enjoy it. And so any comments about Blaze, leave them down, well, in the comments. That's where they belong after all. And consider hitting that like and subscribe button to stay up to date on all my content and future content. And also consider coming join us in the community Discord, where we're just a fine bunch of people, and yeah, we just like to have fun. Because life is better when we switch together.